Okay, let's go with the next one, which has to do with agree. So what's the status of agree? I mean, the question has to do with the recent discussion on merge. So can agree be reduced to merge by means of feature chains, which is an idea that was adopted in the 90s in the same sense that other phenomena like control in your recent talks have been reduced to this basic operation?
Well, agree is a very funny relation. We should ask ourselves a fundamental question about it. Why does it exist? I mean, what does it do? Why should there be unvalued features, which is the basis for agree? Why should there be structural case? They don't have any semantic interpretation. If you drop them from the language, the thought would be the same. Okay. In fact, if you look more closely, there are some cases where there are things you just can't say because of agree. There are thoughts you have, but you can't say because agree doesn't work. So take simple disjunction. John or Bill is here. Okay, either John or Bill is here. How about the men or Bill is here? Can't say that. The men or Bill are here. Can't say that. If you just had the copula be without any features, you could say John, the men or Bill be here, as in some dialects, in fact. But in the dialect we're now using, you just can't say it, only because agree is there making a problem. So it doesn't seem to have any semantic interpretation. It makes certain things inexpressible. And what's it there for? That's really an unanswered question. Now, there was a proposal around a couple of years ago, mine in fact, that unvalued features had the function of identifying phases. They are very closely related to phases, but that led to too many complications. It required a notion of inheritance, deriving the features of inflection from C, which is the phase boundary, which leads to all kinds of complications. So that doesn't look right. In fact, I think we don't have an answer to the question why agree unvalued features, structural case, why do they even exist in language? They're all over the place, even when you don't hear them, like in an analytic language like English, you don't hear them most of the time, but there's good reasons, Vergniaud's reasons from many years ago, why we think they're actually there. So that's an open question, something for you to solve. Why do these properties even exist? Okay. We're not going to have an answer to the question whether it works by features unless we figure out why it's there altogether. I think there's a deeper question. So we can get technical answers. We can say, okay, let's say agree involves features, they delete, and so on and so forth. That'll give us a description of what's going on. And you can give a lot of different descriptions, but my own feeling is that they're all missing something until we get an understanding of why language has these properties ubiquitously. There's some cases where there's good answers, like in polysynthetic languages, say the kind that Mark Baker studied, others, then languages where the words seem to be almost freely ordered, but the core structure is highly structured. And you have to have ways of identifying things in the core structure with the words that are phrases that are floating around. Well, you need features to connect them. Okay, so you can see it there. But why, say in the Indo-European languages, why there do you have properties like unvalued features? I really don't think there's an answer to that. no satisfying answer, at least. So I don't, although as to what's the status of agree, I think it's kind of on hold till we have a better understanding of why these systems are there altogether. Now, of course, that's very commonly true in the sciences. There are things you don't understand, but you have to keep on working, okay? So you just pick some solution, you work with that, try to make it work as well as possible. But in the back of your mind, you know there's a problem. I mean, that's even true of physics. Like physics has a pretty large problem. It can't find 95% of what constitutes the universe. Sounds like a pretty serious problem. If physics were linguistics, people would say, throw it out. It's junk. We don't want this nonsense. But physics is part of the sciences, not part of the soft sciences. So therefore, it's understood that you work with what you understand, and you know there are big problems in the background. Keep them in mind. Maybe someday you'll be able to solve them. Meanwhile, do the best you can. That attitude someday maybe will permeate the soft sciences. We'll throw out a lot of nonsense that we hear in philosophical other literature. So yes, this is a case in point. There's an interesting question. There was a similar question for decades as to why you have displacement. It was the main question that was asked, why this crazy property of displacement. Displacement and reconstruction, notice. Displacement and reconstruction are one operation, why bother with them? Now we have a good answer to that. It's the simplest possible operation. Well, maybe someday we'll get an answer to unstructured, unvalued features, but right now we don't have it. So I think it's in limbo.
The more I ask, the more questions I have. So I think this is also a good point to tell to the students that are attending, I mean, the young people here, that again, this is what we are in the field for. I mean, just to try to come up with interesting questions about things that we thought that we understand, but maybe we don't. So I think this is what, I mean, these are the kind of conclusions that one can gather from Noam's comments. So I encourage you to maybe to contact him at some point or try to provide answers to these matters that are very simple on the surface, but are very complex and very deep at the end of the day.